Paris and Washington DC are once again at loggerheads with each other. The reason is NATO's expansion. US-led NATO wants Japan to come on board. It tried to open its brand new office in Tokyo, but France has rejected the idea. French President Emmanuel Macron clearly said it would be a big mistake. He also said that NATO was a transatlantic security alliance that should remain focused on its own North Atlantic region. If we push NATO to enlarge the spectrum and the geography, we will make a big mistake, Macron was quoted as saying by the Financial Times. Now here is one simple question. Why is France opposing NATO while being a NATO member at the same time? Well, simply put, the country has grown sick of the US. It just does not want the US to lead its foreign and security policy. France's biggest concern is that NATO's presence in Indo-Pacific will influence Europe's ties with East Asia and China. However, Paris wants the EU to have a separate channel of communication with Beijing, which will have no effective intervention from Washington DC. For instance, China has already vehemently opposed NATO's plans for an office in Tokyo. China has warned that it will not accept bloc confrontation in the Asia-Pacific. A statement released by China's foreign ministry last week read, NATO claims to be a regional organization and should not extend its geopolitical reach. The Asia-Pacific does not welcome bloc confrontation of military blocs. So, by rejecting NATO's plans to open its office in Tokyo, France has sent out a clear message to US. We will deal with China on our own, you better stay out of our business. Well, that is the same message that Macron delivered to US while he was on a visit to China in April this year. Macron spoke his heart out during that trip. He said, Europe must not be viewed as an ally of US, but a third world power along with US and China. Also, the president said Europe must not become America's vassal state and avoid being drawn into any conflict between the US and China over Taiwan. And by the way, there is a simmering debate in France whether it should now quit NATO for better. When the AUKUS alliance was announced between UK, US and Australia almost 2 years back, opposition parties in France had recalled their position in favor of France withdrawing from the NATO alliance. The French were particularly angry because Australia had scrapped a multi-billion-dollar submarine deal with France following the AUKUS deal. One leader in France said that the country had nothing to do with this military alliance, while adding that they need to ask Americans where the alliance was going. In fact, at the end of 2019, President Emmanuel Macron even said that NATO was experiencing brain death. By the way, it is not like France is not interested in standing up to China in the Indo-Pacific region. Even its own stakes are high. France has territories and therefore exclusive economic zones around them in the Indian Ocean and the Pacific. In fact, France also faces the prospect of China's economic invasion into its remotest outpost in the Pacific, New Caledonia. Calls for independence in New Caledonia have grown louder over the years, especially after China became its biggest trading partner. It is speculated that Beijing is fueling anti-French sentiments here. So we cannot say that France is running away from confronting China actually. However, it just wants to deal with China on its own terms. And that is why anti-NATO and anti-US sentiments in France are at an all-time high.